Hey guys, welcome to episode number 320. Today is Monday, so it's Update Monday, and I should be at the Boston Aquarium Society's auction tonight, but I'm a little auctioned out. I've been to quite a few auctions in the past month or two, and I thought to myself there wasn't really a whole lot that I was really able to buy or sell even if I went. So instead I decided to stay home, do a little maintenance here in the fish room, and shoot a walkthrough video here of the fish room. It's been a little while since I've kind of walked through everything, so I wanted to do that with you guys. My Jabo pump is working really well in the 300-gallon turtle stock tank. You see I have this big inlet which is allowing a lot of water into the pump, and that's protected by a couple different sizes of mesh screen. I've only had to clean that off once over the past 2 or 3 months, so that's working out really well. I've got the bypass here, and I actually hooked that up to my Python system so I can exchange a large volume of water in this tank very quickly. Going up here, we've got our 55-gallon filter, and obviously we've got a chamber here for the solids, and then we've got the K1 micro biomedia in the rest of the barrel, and then the overflow there. I took you guys' recommendations and changed up the way that this filter works, and essentially what I did was I ran the inlet here all the way down to the bottom of the barrel, this 5-gallon bucket, and then the water has to come up through this filter pad. There's mechanical media inside before it's able to spill into the rest of this 55-gallon barrel itself. So we're getting pretty good flow rates in here, and everything's working out just fine. These mangroves have exploded. These are about a year old at this point, and as you can see, they're doing very well. I actually started out with about 3 times as many here, but I've been selling them off kind of as they've been sprouting up, and that's been working out fairly well. You will notice that there's actually one that's a little droopy here, and that's actually because I moved this guy yesterday, and I think in doing so I might have ripped some of the rootlets, and it actually might not be stuck down quite as far as it should in that substrate. It might not be getting enough water to those roots, so I'll take a look at that before too long, just to make sure it doesn't die off prematurely. And you'll see that some of these have the tops cut off. This one I've let it go, but this one I've cut the top off. And as you see there, we've got 2 shoots coming off on either side, and actually down below it we've got 2 shoots starting as well. So some of those are going to start to branch off. I'm going to try to keep these a little bit compact, and as they grow a little too tall, I'll just keep cutting them down so that those side shoots keep coming off, and I don't get these growing too close to my T5 high outputs. You will notice I do still have the terrapins. I am planning on rehoming these guys at some point, but I haven't done so yet, so they're still chilling out here. This is Bad Turtle, looking for some food, but she's not going to get some. Actually, she goes after all of these anglers in this tank when she's not getting fed pellet food. So that's a look at the stock tank. Not a lot's changed. I will go over here and we can take a look at the new turtles here. We've got southern map turtles. Yeah. They're a little bit shy. You see they still have the saw back. And they've grown. I think they've about doubled in size since the summer when I got them. And there's 4 of them in here. The water level is quite low. I do intend on raising that slowly over time, and I actually intend on getting rid of this completely and putting them in here once these guys get rehomed. So that's kind of the plan. with the turtle tank and kind of what's going on here. Eventually I would like to tie in this water system with the fish water system. I haven't quite figured out how I want to do that exactly. The fish stand is where it's going to be. I'm not planning on moving that at all, but there are arguments around slightly moving this stock tank at some point in the future. I haven't quite decided where it should finally land in this fish room. If I wanted to do another set of aquariums and put them over here, this might need to slide over towards that wall. Of course, this would have to move. I'm not really in a rush to figure it out, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I don't want to drill a hole in this stock tank and run plumbing to and from the fish tanks if something is going to drastically change here in the future. So I've just been kind of maintaining two bodies of water here in the fish room for the time being, and everything's been working out just fine. We do have all of our juvenile angels, and the glare is probably going to be fairly bad here, but we've got 3 or 4 different varieties here, and they're all growing and eating like pigs. And hopefully I can pair off 2 or 3 of these guys and get a couple more breeding pairs. Right now I only have 1 breeding pair. Obviously these are sub-adult size, and then I'll probably bring the rest, the leftovers, to auction. So that's what's going on there. Sorry for the glare. We've got our red black bar endlers down here. These guys seem to do well until I take the Java moss out of the tank, in which case the fry population crashes. So I've been trying to leave the Java moss alone in these tanks. Eventually I want the Java moss to probably carpet half of the tank. So at this point I've subdivided my Java moss. It's basically in every aquarium, and I'm just letting it grow out to the point where a lot of those fry will be protected from the adults, and hopefully the population in these 40-gallon breeders really takes off. The lime greens over here, on the other hand, are doing pretty well, and there are quite a few more of those, and there's a little bit more Java moss in this tank, so that might be related. Of course, we've got the cherry shrimp. There's one there. There's probably about 100 in each one of these tanks, and we've also got the ancestris plecos, and I've got a pair basically in every one of these tanks also breeding, so that's very exciting. And if you saw my last video, the last auction I went to, I do have 10 super red ancestris now. There's 1 or 2 there. There's a bunch hiding underneath the Malaysian driftwood. And everything's going good in here. You can see they tore a hole right through the center of that zucchini. So they're eating, they're loving life, and they basically have this 40-gallon breeder all to themselves at the moment, so I'll let them grow out completely unharassed by other fish, and see what happens with them. There's a few more back there. We do have our pair of breeding angels right here. I do need to clean the bottom of the tank. It's pretty dirty. And I do need to get them a breeding slate so that they have a dedicated place to affix their eggs, because right now they tend to favor the overflow sponge in the corner here, and that doesn't really work out so well, especially when I want to clean those sponges every week and change those out. So a few changes going on here. I might eventually divide this tank in half and have 2 breeding pairs in this tank when those other angels grow out, but that'll be exciting. They have laid eggs. They haven't successfully cared for those eggs, so I will be probably removing those slates, and when I do that, I think what I'm actually going to do is put them into a pickle jar. I learned this trick from Angels Plus. You go check out their YouTube channel or their website. They raise a lot of angelfish, and they've got a trick with a pickle jar and some sponge foam for raising those angelfish fry. Stay tuned for a later video on how that's going to work, but I'll experiment with that once I get a slate in there, and we'll see what happens. Down here we just have a cherry shrimp tank for now, really nothing else in it besides a few ancestris, albino ancestris that are growing out. Just curious what would happen if I devoted a tank entirely to shrimp. And they're doing okay, but the population isn't like significant. But I do every week or two take a couple swipes of a net through here and grab a bunch and bring those to various auctions. So they haven't really had a chance to establish themselves, so I'll let them do that and we'll see what happens. They're always a popular item at auctions, so I try to bring them as often as I can. And up here we have our marble crab, self-cloning crayfish. Again, this tank is filthy. They are all over the place. It's going to be almost impossible to see them here on camera, but they are all over the place in this tank. They are breeding like crazy. I can't really get rid of them fast enough, so this tank is always full of crayfish, and I try to bring those to as many auctions as possible. And then we have our swordtails down here. These are the Showa swordtails. I picked up 2 bags at 2 separate auctions recently, and they've been doing okay. They're a little skittish. They don't tend to eat quite as much as I would expect a fish this size to eat, so they might, you know, not quite be adjusted to this tank yet. Actually, one of them did die from both bags that I got, which is a little concerning to see. And that actually prompted me to start looking into UV filters. I think I am going to get a UV unit here and install that to make sure that I don't get any outbreaks of anything. I'm kind of at the point now where I have enough fish and enough invested in the system that I don't want to lose it all to something stupid. And so I will be probably setting up a quarantine tank and a UV system sometime this fall, so definitely look forward to that. I've got my Daphnia going. They're not doing very well. I think it might be the heat in this basement. This basement has been staying very warm. In fact, it's been probably upwards of 80 degrees in air temperature down here, but things are starting to cool down. New England is starting to cool down, so we'll see what happens as we head into the fall in the fish room. I got plenty of projects to keep me busy down here. The 125 still needs to be scraped and cleaned up a little bit and sold, and the fish room itself is still in its early stages of development, but like any good thing, you need a plan, and this is where I've started. I've got a very significant filtration system here, sump system, and from there we've got this one rack, potentially another set of racks, and of course we're going to keep the turtle tank around. So anyways guys, that was a very long walkthrough of the basement and the fish room and what's going on. And sorry I wasn't at the Boston Aquarium Society auction, but again, got a lot of stuff going on and I'm a little bit auctioned out. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.